Next up, we need to learn about creating a solution, what goes into that. So we are going to create a solution using water and Kool-Aid. So the way this works is the water will be our solvent, that is the thing that does the dissolving, and the Kool-Aid will be dissolved into that. This is one of those little singles packs. So I open this up, just open this right up, and pour this in. And you'll notice it's this very fine powder that spreads out into the liquid. Now remember, in order to dissolve, what has to happen is that the atoms, the particles, the molecules in the solvent have to bump into the molecules and particles of the solute. And basically what happens is any clump of solute is broken down into its constituent atoms or molecules, which are just big groups of atoms. And that continues to happen until the solute is spread out evenly throughout the solvent. What we're going to talk about are 3 ways to actually speed up that process, because if I just leave this sit, we will eventually get well-mixed Kool-Aid. However, there are ways to increase the speed of this process. Probably the most obvious one, and the one that you've probably taken action on with Kool-Aid in the past, is that you stir it. So this is called a glass stir rod, and you could just put this in and stir it. And by stirring, what you do is you are actually increasing the likelihood that the solvent is going to bump into the solute. By mixing it, you're moving them around more quickly, and you're increasing the odds that the molecules in the solvent are going to bump into those in the solute. So that speeds up how quickly the solution forms. So stirring this, causing those increased collisions, will increase the speed at which the solution forms. Another way to do this, so there are 3 ways. Stirring is the first one. The second way would be to use hot water, which would be counter to our purposes of refreshing Kool-Aid. It'd be hot-aid then? I'm not sure. But if you use a very, very hot solvent, or if I were to put a hot plate under this and heat it, what happens is that as the temperature increases, the particles in the solvent begin moving faster and faster. And as they move faster, it increases the likelihood that they're going to bump into the particles of the solid. So by increasing the temperature of this, I also increase the likelihood of those collisions and thus increase the rate at which the solution forms. The last way is by increasing the surface area of the solute. Remember that in order for the solute to dissolve, if, say, my fist is a chunk of solute, particles of the solvent bump into that and knock off little pieces. The more surface area there is, the faster that can happen. So you'll notice that in this packet, it comes as a powder. The reason it comes as a powder is because that powder has a lot of surface area. Each individual piece can be accessed from any side by the solvent, and so that causes this to dissolve faster than it otherwise would. Sometimes we'll deal with stuff that comes in chunks. For instance, one of the things I'm thinking of is copper sulfate, which comes in little blue chunks that look like rocks. And you can cause that to go into solution faster by breaking it up, for which we use this piece of technology. This is a mortar and pestle, and you put whatever it is you want to grind up in there. Take this end, and you can just grind it up, and it will be ground into a fine powder, which will then go into solution faster. So remember, 3 ways to increase the speed at which a solution forms. Stirring causes the solution to form faster. Heating the solvent causes it to form faster. And crushing the solute so that it has more surface area will increase the rate of solution.